Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles. And in today's video extravaganza, we have Edvin, one half of the awesome Epic guys, a pair of, I think, Swedish World of Tanks YouTubers and live streamers, who I was lucky enough to meet briefly when I was at the Swedish Tank Museum at Arsenalen. Edvin, in the LT-432 Tier 8 Russian light tank, is a man on a mission, and his mission is part of a light tank spotting mission where he has to obtain 7 kill assists in 10 games. This was one of the games. Now, if at various points of this battle you see Edvin staring at enemy tanks and not taking shots, that's the reason why. He's trying to get those kill assists. I don't think it's too much of a spoiler if I let slip the fact that he's only actually going to get 1 kill assist in this battle, and the reasons why should become pretty apparent and are already probably pretty obvious. His team are not the most talented group of 15 random players thrown together by the World of Tanks matchmaker, or possibly it's just that the enemy team are. More likely it's some kind of combination of those two factors, but if Edvin's hoping to get a lot of kill assists in this game, he picked the wrong team and the wrong battle. While he's desperately trying to get his teammates to shoot at the targets that he's spotting, let's just talk a little about the LT-432. It's a fairly typical Russian light tank. Generally speaking, when you're designing a tank, there is a holy trinity of things that you have to take into consideration: mobility, firepower, and armour. It's a general truism that you can only pick 2 of these things, you can't have all 3. For example, if you want a machine with good firepower and good mobility, it's probably not going to have good armour because of the weight, which would affect the mobility. As an example, take a look at the Leopard 1. Great firepower, great mobility, lousy armour. On the other hand, if you want to have great armour and great firepower, you generally have to sacrifice the mobility. All of that armour comes at a price. The Jagdtiger, for example. Yes, Akazuki, I was getting to it. Hold on, bear with me. These restrictions are almost a universal truth, until it comes to Russian paper tanks like the LT-432. Yes, I'm telling them, Akazuki, seriously. Everyone's a critic. Yes, the LT-432, which has great armour, great firepower, and great mobility. Yes, this is a light tank with an 85mm gun, almost as much turret armour at the front as a Tiger II, has comparable all-round hull armour to that of the Centurion, and yet somehow still managed to zip around the battlefield at speeds of 70 km per hour with a frankly ludicrous power-to-weight ratio of 33.33 horsepower per tonne. But we still haven't gotten on to what is quite easily the most ridiculous thing about this tank. First, however, Edvin's going to have a bit of a problem. He's just been set on fire. And because he's using the premium combat rations consumable, that means he didn't pack a fire extinguisher, so that fire is going to be a pretty major blow to his morale. While he's waiting for that fire to burn out and leave him on 245 health, ouch, let's address the elephant in the room: the LT-432's gun depression. Take a look at that turret, and more importantly, take a look at how high in the turret the gun is mounted. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with basic mechanical engineering, the gun is mounted around a pivot. So, if you want to depress the barrel of the gun, the breech of the gun has to raise. But where's it going to go? There can't possibly be more than 2 or 3 inches of available space above the breech before the breech hits the turret roof. So, unless the Russians had plans for some kind of space-time wormhole to be fitted into the interior turret roofs of their LT-432s, allowing the breech to poke through into Hawking, Indiana or something, there is no way on earth this tank should be able to have its 7 degrees of gun depression. And yet, in combination with impressive firepower, frontal armour rivaling that of same-tier heavies and mediums, and a power-to-weight ratio that would make a Spitfire jealous, this tank does, in fact, have exactly 7 degrees of gun depression. Now, I'm not saying all this is because it's Russian. But if anybody out there can come up with a practical explanation as to why this tank just appears to be able to routinely flout the laws of physics whenever it wants to, I'm sure we'd all love to know. While we're waiting for the internet to whip an answer to that one out of its arse, and good luck with that, let's turn our attention back to the battle, which really isn't going very well at all. But the team are only losing 4 kills to 6. Ah, okay, 4 kills to 7. 4 kills to 8. Okay, it is a disaster. But more important than the numbers is the situation, because the team are pretty much surrounded in their own base, with only Edvin and a beleaguered IS-3 offering any kind of resistance outside the immediate base perimeter, and there are enemy tanks closing in on all sides. Edvin only has 245 health left. He's forced into action by the proximity of the UDES-3 there and gets extremely unlucky with his first shot. Manages to score some damage with the second, but he's on such low health that there's no way he's going to follow that tank destroyer down into a position where the rest of the enemy team can shoot at him. Now, this tank does have unusually good armour for a light tank, but when you have 245 health, you don't rely on your armour to save you. You hope it will save you, but you rely on your ability to save you. And, well, the horsepower per ton ratio of 33.33 and a top speed of 70 kilometers per hour, this machine has mobility in spades. Now, at this point in the battle, Edvin freely admits that he wasn't actually trying to win. He was pretty sure that this game was going to be a horrible defeat, and he just wanted to farm some damage in the few minutes that were probably remaining to him before his inevitable death, defeat, and then he could move on to the next battle. Of course, that doesn't mean he's going to take defeat lying down, as the ISU-152 narrowly misses. He's going to go down fighting and make it as hard as possible. Classic example of the bullshit gun depression on this machine, as he's going down a slope and firing over the back of the tank and somehow still managing to hit and kill the enemy artillery. Edvin makes it out of immediate danger, but the ISU-152 is still going to have shots at him from the ridge, and there's nothing but more enemy tanks in that direction as well. And so I'm pretty sure that Edvin's decided that if he's going to die, he's probably got a better chance against the enemy artillery and an ISU-152, which doesn't do particularly well shooting at fast-moving targets at close range, than he does against all of those enemy heavies and mediums. Kills the GW Tiger P after his first shot bounces, because of course it does, and since the ISU just fired and his shot whiffed over the top of his turret, he's definitely got time to stop, back up, and take another shot before the ISU reloads. Now Edvin has two choices: try to outmaneuver and get close to the ISU, and if the ISU simply keeps his distance, that's going to be very hard to do, or attempt to break contact and see if he can't do something about helping his two surviving teammates. And since an ISU-152 has the same effective view range as Stevie Wonder, the second option seems like the wisest choice. Unfortunately, his two surviving teammates very rapidly become one surviving teammate. Despite that, his decision to break contact and go this way was definitely the right thing to do, because just a couple of seconds later, enemy SU-130PM, who clearly has sixth sense, realised he's been spotted and got down into the dry riverbed for some cover, but who was clearly positioned, ready to ambush and kill him if he tried to escape in the other direction. The friendly charioteer, who was the one guy on the team trying to warn everybody earlier that the base was about to get overrun, but of course nobody listened to him, is doing his best, but he's got an SU-130PM in front of him, a T-27 IS-3 and Carnarvon behind him, so his days are numbered too, and Edvin is now the last tank left alive on his team, with 245 health remaining, fighting 5 enemy tanks, all of whom, with the exception of the Carnarvon, are capable of one-shotting him. I think you can probably guess where this one's going. Surprisingly, at least one person on the enemy team appears to be capable of thinking and breathing at the same time. They've figured out that a far, far better way of finding an LT-432 in the vast wilderness of the desert is to make him come to you by sitting in the cap circle, instead of trying to chase him down in machines that would struggle to reach half the top speed of an LT-432, and are about as subtle and stealthy as a herd of autistic elephants that have just been told, no, you can't watch your favourite cartoon show. So that's bad news for Edvin. Even worse news is the fact that there are now 2 of them in the capture zone, which is severely cutting down on the number of available options that he has. Luckily, the quickest route to the cap circle also offers the most concealment, and the best chance of getting a shot off and resetting that cap. But what's truly miraculous here is Edvin's bullshit gun depression, which allows him to pull that shot off, his bullshit armour, which stops that from reducing him to 5 health, and then his bullshit gun depression again. Bullshit Russian tank technology to the rescue. Although we do also have to give some credit to the driver of the Carnarvon down there, who clearly knows where Edvin is, but doesn't seem to think that taking the time to turn his tank around and getting his frontal armour pointing in this direction, instead of just reversing slowly while sideways on, was perhaps a better use of the time available to him. But since the Carnarvon and the T-27 were the only two remaining tanks on the enemy team that could conceivably do less than the 245 health that Edvin had remaining at that point, whether he's on 245 or 93 health is immaterial. One shot from anything left on the enemy team is going to kill him anyway. First up is the SU-130PM, who has the health and is entirely capable of taking a couple of hits and should just take his time, but instead rushes the shot and bounces his 243mm penetration, 130mm armour piercing shell right off the bullshit turret front of Edvin's LT-432. Edvin gets 3 shots off for the SU-130PM's 1, and right on time because here comes the IS-3. He goes for a shot at the suspension, hoping to immobilise the Russian heavy, but nothing comes of it. Now, he could play chasey chasey, catchy catchy, killy killy with the IS-3 around the rocks here, but the ISU-152 is still in play. Now, I do realise that the ISU-152 is going to have to have come from all the way over the other side of the map, and while it's certainly not particularly slow, it's definitely not the fastest machine in the world. Still, it doesn't have to get here, it just has to get in view range. And if you're cautiously manoeuvring around a bunch of rocks with an IS-3 in hot pursuit, you're pretty much just asking to get sniped by a tank destroyer. But he doesn't have to manoeuvre around the rock with the IS-3 in pursuit, because he can do 70 km per hour, and he has a power-to-weight ratio of 33.3 horsepower per tonne. So he can, and is, leaving the IS-3 choking on his dust. And I think the IS-3 is actually choking on his dust, and what I mean by that is he's chasing after him because nobody's in the cap circle. Clearly the IS-3 hasn't figured out what the Carnarvon and the T-27 did. Don't waste your time trying to chase down an LT-432. Sit in the cap circle. Make him come to you instead. All of which leaves Edvin free to turn the tables on the ISU and go hunting him instead. And of course, he's in a light tank. He retains all of his concealment values while on the move. And he's looking for an ISU. And an IS-3. Not the most subtle of machines. And they don't have the greatest view range either. Although it appears that common sense and logic has finally prevailed, and now both of them, both the ISU and the IS-3, are sitting in the cap circle. And just by dumb luck, they've managed to do it at exactly the right spot to catch Edvin in the worst possible location, where he has no time but to do anything other than approach the cap circle and attempt to reset it again, but this time from the direction where there's the least available amount of cover. Best hope they both have their guns pointing in the wrong direction, or this could be over very quickly. And they both have their guns pointing in the wrong direction. And there goes the IS-3. It never occurred to these guys that it might be a good idea to have one pointing their gun in one direction and the other pointing their gun in the other direction, you know, just in case. Oh, and the ISU's missed again. There goes his tracks. Is he going to use... Yeah, there goes the repair kit. Second shot bounces. With that howitzer, the ISU just has to... He could even hit the turret and it wouldn't have to penetrate. It would kill him with only 93 health left. But he seems to be just waiting for that perfect shot. Then again, with the game on the line as a result of what he does with his next shot, you can't really blame him. And if they both keep poking the ridge like that, the chances of who is going to get the actual killing shot are probably about 50-50. So, not good odds, and Edvin pulls the oldest trick in the book. While not spotted, but still momentarily visible on the map, he doubles away to make it look to the ISU as if he's going around the other side. Then he waits, for just long enough for the seed of doubt to be planted into the ISU's mind and to give him time to start turning around. Did he fall for it? No, he didn't! Not that his refusal to fall for the oldest trick in the book did him any good, because, well, the LT-432 has bullshit gun handling to go with the bullshit everything else. Now, while I'm sure many people are going to be tempted to lay the credit for this frankly stunning victory firmly at the feet of magical Russian bullshit tank technology, magical Russian bullshit tank technology will only take you so far. The rest of the slack you have to pick up on your own, and I'm pretty sure we can all agree that Edvin made the right moves at the right time and he got the result that he deserved. All the same, I'd like to see him doing that in a British light tank. Now that would be impressive. Nevertheless, well done, Edvin. Great result. You worked hard for it and you got it. Everybody else, I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.